Hi, my name is Jennifer. I am a Creative Memories advisor. Thanks for joining me today. We are going to be making a layout from page 45 from 101 Scrapbooking Ideas and Sketches, and we're going to use the Painted Garden collection. So let's get started. We are going to work on page 45, and the sketch has 2 to 3 photos, and you'll kind of see how I tried to get more photos on here as well. In my current plan is to try to do some multiple layers of bordering down below and up top, and we will be using the Painted Garden collection. This Painted Garden was one of my favorite collections, so I've been hoarding the paper and trying not to use it. This is only my second layout that I'm actually doing with the paper. I've been using it specifically for flowers and trees and plants and things like that. So, and again, I like to try to create another plan here. So I did try to get an idea of what border punches I was going to try to use and how I was going to layer them. And I have gone through and tried to select some different elements to place on the pages, especially like they've got this little line here. I'm actually going to use the die cut from the Painted Garden collection, and some stuff for this one as well. And then we'll use a combination of stickers and things like that. So I'm going to stay pretty true to the sketch. However, I've been able to get more than the 3 photos on here, and I'll kind of show you that here too. And I've gone ahead and I've done a lot of pre-cutting on this one, but not enough. So we'll be kind of just figuring out together what to do down below. So I'm gonna put that off to the side so I can see it. And these are the papers that I've kind of chosen as secondary options. I have gone through and I've done some cutting. Nothing is attached by any means, but I've gone through and I've tried to use some of the different matte packs up. I've gotten better. I used to not use them very often, and I have figured out many different ways on how to try to use them and incorporate them into my pages. So I've been pretty pleased with that. So what I ended up doing in order to get more photos on here is I have a Epson PM400, PictureMate 400 that I can put 4 photos or different collages of photos together and then print them. Because of the size of the map, this little card is 4x6. I did have to trim a lot of this, and actually they're even smaller than that. So I had to trim quite a bit off of the edges of these. So the photos themselves are really only like maybe 1 3/4 inches by 2 3/4 maybe for each little photo. I do like to take lots of photos of unique or blooming flowers from where I was. I was at Harry P. Lou Gardens in Florida. I was there for a soccer tournament, and we had some free time, and the kids kind of just hung out at the hotel, and I went sightseeing. So that was kind of it was my vacation, so to speak. So that is kind of what I did. All right, I am going to start attaching different pieces and elements, and then we're gonna figure out, I'll attach some of this stuff here to get it all laid out correctly. Then we're gonna try to figure out the border situation here. And I do have a couple of different designs potentially. This one will be used, and one of the flower ones as well. So we'll see how it comes together, and we'll see if I have to deviate at all. So let's get started. This little strip is a 1/2 inch, so I'm gonna put that on here as well, but I may not put that down until after we get the border situation figured out. That way, in case there's any differences in the size of the various borders, it will cover some of that up. Okay, and I'm moving this over, and you can see I'm not straight here again. Probably should have put some adhesive on the back before I started, but that's okay. We'll get it figured out here. And then this little strip, there'll be a little bit of the outside edge showing, so I don't want to go right up to the 1/2 inch. I was hoping to be right around this 3/4 of an inch, but I want to make sure it's mostly straight. And I'm just going to kind of use the paper too as a guide, and if it's off a little bit, that's okay. That's what these will help cover up at the end, right? So we'll move those over to the side, and then the other piece that I am going to want to put on here now is going to be these outside, these 2 photos here. I'm going to get this figured out so that I've got those in a good spot, and then that way I can also figure out where, like, does it need to go, do I have to cheat it this way? Can I cheat it further that way? And I will most likely have to cheat it further that way, but not the whole way, if that makes sense. So some of these flowers that I took photos of were unique, and I had never seen before. I live in a colder climate, so we don't oftentimes get to see the tropical plants. So when I am traveling, I do try to enjoy and get out and see some of the other plants, either that I cannot keep alive, or that will never grow here in the northern US. Okay, then my next one, I don't think I'm gonna put this down yet, like tape it down yet, but I do, because I do want to get this top part figured out. And this top part here is where I was going to use the scallop border punch. So let's go ahead and cut that out. I'm going to just pop this little cartridge in here, make sure it gets in there all the way. And then, let's see, is this the one? So what I'm going to try to do, and this will be fun to try to get this in here too, because, so this is only like an inch, a little over an inch, but I want to cut this border on here, and in order to do that, I need to use some Post-it notes in here, so I'll show you how I can usually, and I'm gonna have to do 2, because I'm gonna have one on the top, one on the bottom. So I'll show you how I do this. So what I will do is I'll get this in here, and I will line it up at the top. And you can do the top or the bottom, it doesn't really matter, but I like to start in one spot or the other. And then I'm gonna pull over some Post-it notes. And what I will do is get the Post-it notes on here, and you can, sometimes we'll need to do this before you slide it in. Just attach the Post-it notes to it. And I'm gonna do one more closer to the end. And I'm really trying to use up some of my scraps at the same time here. And then make sure that the paper is lined up in here, and then just go ahead and close the top. And I'm gonna move this out of the way so I don't wreck anything. And then we're gonna kind of come in here. I'm gonna start at the top and then work my way down. And this slides right into each one of these little notches. Now I don't need this whole thing all the way, but it was on a roll, so I'm just gonna go with it and keep cutting it. Okay, and then we'll take that off. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna trim this off, because I also need this section up here, because I've got one for the top, one for the bottom. So I'm just gonna snip this off with scissors, because it won't really matter, because I'm planning on trying to cover it up with some multiple layering. And so we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing again. And you can see I've cut some of them, and that's fine. You can reuse these as the post-it notes as much as you can. And the idea is to get it in here so that it'll cut out for you and you get to use some of your scraps up and still create borders. Okay, again, I'm gonna start at the top. This one might be a little bit more tricky just because none of it is attached to the base. So we'll be a little bit careful on this one as we slide it in, down, and around. So you can kind of see I'm having some problems here, but that's okay. We'll get there. Okay. There. All right. And like I said, you can see that the punch kind of cut through the post-it note. That's fine as long as it, just be careful when you peel it off. And I don't need any of this. I'm gonna kind of push that to the side. Move this out of the way. Let's bring our layout back. Because again, I'm not so sure how this is all gonna come together, but it'll work. And you'll notice that this didn't punch all the way over, and that's fine because I only need it to cover this white floral piece. So I was gonna do one at the top, one at the bottom. And then I have this flower punch that I was also going to use as kind of this, where these big circles are. I was gonna use that. And I was gonna omit one of these two smaller circles and just put one thing there, just try to merge the two or to cover where they join together. And then at the top, it was only gonna have one other thing kind of cover it. So again, we'll see how this goes. And I do have some rickrack that I had from a previous project that I could use here as well. So we'll see if I end up using that or not. And because I cut this in green, I think I'm gonna use this yellow that I set aside for the flowers at the bottom to see how that'll look. Yeah, because it'll pop up against this one. So we're gonna move this off to the side again. And I am going to punch this the full length of this sheet. I'm just trying to see for future use if there's a benefit to doing one way or the other. I'm just gonna go with it. And I'm gonna put this in here and I'm gonna line it up. There's little marks either here or here. That's where the punch starts and stops. So depending on whether you put it in from the right or the left, you know where to line it up from. And then you wanna make sure it's pushed all the way to the back of the punch. I'm gonna go ahead and punch. And then you can see there's some, as it comes out the other side, you kind of line up the little notch here in the back, and then also the front pieces to make sure you've got it lined up and in the right spot for the next punch. And you can see that guy wasn't gonna help me, so flying blind a little bit, but that's all right. We can line this up. And it looks like maybe I got off a little bit. You can kind of see, but we'll figure that out. We'll just keep going. It'll be fine. Okay, and then we've got that. Line that up. See if we can get this back on track, or at least keep it where it's at so that everything's lining up. The best part about scrapbooking is you can always improvise, right? Things happen and you just have to go with it. Okay, so I'm gonna pull that out. this off to the side there. All right, now let's see, I'm gonna get this other piece here. And I think I'm just gonna cut like a half inch, or like a half 3/4 of an inch to a half an inch line straight across and go with it. So let's do that. Because all it's gonna do is just overlap. Anyway, that over there. I'll bring this back in and we'll see how this looks. I'm not very good at trying to layer punches, so it's one of those things that can always keep improving on. And then, like I said, I just wanted another, I was gonna use either the leaves or one of these borders. One of the borders, either the leaves or this little decal one, to kind of go across the bottom and merge the two together so that you don't even notice. And then I was either going to use the same one or a different one up at the top for this one as well. The little birds would be cute too, across the way. I may deviate and do that because they'll pop out nice up there and over here. So, all right, I'm gonna cut these down to size. This should have been about 6 inches according to the sketch, so we will cut them at 6 and then use these little side pieces to cover up any inconsistencies. Oh, it was not 6 inches. So we are gonna have to use these little edge pieces, which is fine, to help cover up some of this. And then what I'm gonna do is I'll save this and I'll put this up at the end because I do want the full border to show. So let's start laying down the borders and we'll keep going. I think we're gonna go with the birds because they'll give a little bit more dimension. And I can technically span them from one side to the next, which I think will be nice. And then that'll help me give some placement on where I want this photo. So we can do a couple of things. We can cut, because you can kind of see if I go edge to edge, I'd be cutting right in between these two, or I could cut at the end of it and just shimmy it over a little bit and it would bleed a little bit, but I think that'd be okay. And then I could do that same thing because then they get the same, they're like symmetrical. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in with my scissors on here and just cut a line on here. And then that way I know exactly how much to pull off of here. And the rest can stay there attached for another use. There we go. And I am gonna try to hide the bottom of my borders. Border punch there, and this one gets lost a little bit in there. I was thinking about popping it up, but there's not a lot of they'd be kind of few and far between. I don't know how it would look. But this one down here should be good to go. And again, I'm really just trying to hide the yellow where the two borders match. So I'm trying to disguise. And there we go. Okay, so then that leads me, so I can put that on there and figure out where this one goes. And then where this is gonna be my journaling box, and my title is gonna go in here. And then I wanted to put the little caterpillar, and I'm gonna pop him up. And I'm gonna pop up the little bird. Like this little bird's gonna be hanging out in between the flowers as well. Typically put my title, I do computer journaling, so I will put the title and then I'll write about it here. I'm gonna leave some of this unattached so that I can slide the journaling in there, and then I make the journaling fit this little box. So then I'm gonna go ahead and add my foam tape here as well. And that should be enough for that one. And then I am gonna pop him up over here, kind of in between these two photos. Like the idea is just to see the uniqueness of the flowers and then have him in there. And I think my only thing that maybe I would have done differently is either picked a different border for here or somehow popped this up at 2, like I did these other elements. But it's down on the paper. I'm not changing it. I'm gonna call this page done. So let me finish attaching everything, and then I'll show you my final product at the end. And there you have it. Everything's stuck down. I just need my titling, or my journaling and my title. And then remember, I didn't unstick all of the stuff back here. I could go back and try to do it later, or it really doesn't matter. Most of it's stuck down as it is, and I'll just slide my journaling in there when I get to it. I do batch a lot of my items together, so I will make a bunch of layouts like this, and then at some point all I have left is a bunch of journaling to do, and I can do that while I'm waiting for kids, or while I'm sitting in front of the TV at night, or anything like that. So it's all about my time management, right? So there you go, another sketch down. And then, like I said, this is from page 45 in the 101 Scrapbooking Ideas and Sketches. Thanks for watching.